Have you ever stopped to consider whether the way you're experiencing sex at your age might actually be affecting your health in ways you haven't noticed? It's not an easy topic to bring up, but if you're over 65 and still sexually active, there are a few important things we need to talk about, things that are often left unsaid. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean intimacy becomes dangerous. But the reality is, many seniors unknowingly develop patterns that can slowly wear down their physical health or create emotional gaps in their relationships. Intimacy can remain a rich, fulfilling part of life as we age, when it's handled with awareness, intention, and the willingness to adapt. Our bodies change with time. Hormonal levels fluctuate, the heart and circulatory system shift, and our emotional and physical desires may no longer look like they once did. What felt right in your 40s or 50s may no longer fit your current needs in your 70s. Holding on to old assumptions or habits can unintentionally create strain, rather than connection. In this video, we're going to explore 7 practices that older adults may want to reconsider when it comes to sexual connection and emotional closeness. Whether you're in a long-standing partnership, re-entering the dating scene after years, or simply trying to reconnect with your own body and heart, these reflections can help you stay healthy, nurture closeness, and build self-assurance in this season of life. Stay with us through the end, because these 7 shifts could not only ease discomfort and reduce confusion, they might just help you rediscover a deep sense of joy and intimacy, something that remains just as vital now as it ever was. Habit number 1, overlooking the role of heart health. A common oversight among older adults when it comes to intimacy is assuming that sex is only influenced by hormones, desire, or emotional connection. But in truth, your cardiovascular system plays a foundational role, especially as you age. Sadly, its importance often gets ignored until a more serious complication arises. Let's consider Richard, a 76-year-old man with a long, loving marriage and a mind as sharp as ever. He still cherished physical closeness with his wife and felt emotionally connected to her. Yet something wasn't quite right. He grew fatigued more easily, felt physically weaker, and although the desire remained, his body wasn't cooperating as it used to. Like many, he dismissed it as a natural part of getting older. However, what Richard didn't realize was that his blood circulation had been slowly declining for years. It wasn't until these subtle changes impacted his intimate life that anyone noticed. Proper blood flow is essential for sexual performance. It affects energy levels, physical sensitivity, and responsiveness. When arteries narrow and blood flow becomes restricted, especially during physically intimate moments, the consequences become more apparent. This type of decline often creeps in quietly. Many write it off as stress or lack of mood, when in reality it's the body signaling that something deeper is wrong. It was only during a routine doctor's visit that Richard learned his blood pressure had been elevated for a while, completely symptom-free, yet already compromising his vitality. After making manageable changes to his lifestyle, like walking daily, swapping processed snacks for healthier options, and staying consistent with medication, Richard began to feel a shift. Not just in his body, but in his emotional presence and connection with his wife. His confidence grew, and intimacy returned, not just physically, but in the emotional bond they shared. What many don't realize is that problems with sexual function can often be the first sign of cardiovascular trouble. It's not just about aging, it's your body waving a red flag that something inside needs care. This is true for women too. Symptoms may show up as vaginal dryness, discomfort, or lack of desire, but often the underlying cause is related to circulation, hormone imbalances, or heart strain. If you haven't had your heart health checked lately, your blood pressure, cholesterol, or circulation, now is the time to do it. Not because something must be wrong, but because taking proactive care of your health protects your quality of life. You don't need to make radical changes. Richard didn't go on an extreme diet or start running marathons. He simply adjusted his routine, short walks, better food choices, and regular check-ins with his doctor. 6 months later, not only did his energy return, but so did the spark in his relationship. If you're in your golden years and want to keep intimacy alive, or reignite it, remember, your heart doesn't just keep you alive. It helps you live fully. In the later chapters of life, meaningful connection begins with taking care of the one organ that keeps everything else going. In the end, what happens in the bedroom isn't just about emotions or hormones, it all comes back to the heart. Habit number 2, using over-the-counter supplements without medical advice. It's become increasingly common for older adults to turn to supplements they find online or pick up from local stores, especially those claiming to restore energy, enhance stamina, or rekindle the spark of youth. Every week, someone tells me they've started a new capsule their friend recommended, or something they saw advertised with bold promises. And frankly, it's understandable. When your body doesn't feel the way it used to, a quick fix can seem incredibly appealing. But here's what most people miss: many of these so-called natural supplements, particularly those aimed at improving sexual performance, can quietly do more harm than good. Let's take Roger as an example. He's 69 and decided to try a male vitality booster he ordered online. The product packaging was filled with technical terms like nitric oxide enhancer and testosterone support formula. Intrigued and hopeful, he started taking it daily. For a while, he thought it was working. He felt slightly more energized, a bit more driven. But soon, he began experiencing persistent headaches. His blood pressure climbed, he felt jittery for no reason, couldn't sleep, and one day, he collapsed while climbing stairs. It turned out the supplement was clashing with his blood pressure medication. The bottle carried vague warnings in tiny print, suggesting a doctor's consultation, but like many, Roger hadn't thought to ask. These products aren't tightly regulated, and what looks like a harmless blend of herbs and vitamins might contain stimulants or unlisted pharmaceutical ingredients. His liver and kidneys, already working harder with age, were struggling to process the added compounds. As we grow older, our bodies become more sensitive to imbalances. Even a seemingly small addition to your routine, especially without clear information, can upset the stability created by carefully managed medications. Supplements marketed for sexual enhancement often include ingredients that can spike blood pressure, increase heart rate, or thin the blood. For individuals with conditions like hypertension or arrhythmia, this creates a dangerous risk, one that may not become obvious until it's too late. Some of these products even contain hidden prescription drugs or unsafe combinations of herbs that amplify each other's side effects. Thankfully, once Roger stopped taking the supplement and consulted his physician, things began to improve. His vitals normalized, the anxiety diminished, and with professional support, he shifted toward healthier and proven approaches: strength training, better sleep hygiene, and nutritional adjustments. No quick tricks, just sustainable habits that nurtured his well-being instead of undermining it. So, if you're currently using or considering any over-the-counter supplement, especially for energy or sexual vitality, take a moment to pause. Bring the bottle to your next doctor's visit. Ask specific questions. What's in it? Will it interact with your meds? Do you even need it? There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel vibrant and confident, but as we age, the body becomes less forgiving of trial-and-error methods. Roger didn't give up on intimacy, he simply stopped risking his health for the sake of performance. That one decision gave him not just physical wellness, but a renewed sense of calm and control. If you're finding this information helpful, let me know by typing number 2 in the comments. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss future insights. Your support means the world and helps us keep creating content that educates and empowers. Let's keep going, safely and wisely. Number 3, skipping candid talks with your doctor. One of the most overlooked but impactful mistakes older adults make about intimacy is staying quiet, not with their partners, but with their physicians. And honestly, it's understandable. For many who grew up in a more conservative era, discussing sexual matters with a doctor can feel awkward, even shameful. There's a fear of being dismissed, or the assumption that nothing can really be done. But that silence often leads to more suffering than the problem itself. I remember Carol, 73, telling me how she and her husband George had drifted apart, not out of lost love, but because they were both dealing with physical discomfort during intimacy. Neither spoke up, assuming it was just part of getting older. Carol blamed menopause. George thought age was the issue. They never talked to each other about it, and they certainly never brought it up with their doctors. The surprising part? Carol regularly visited her doctor, managed her arthritis, stayed on top of her health, yet never once mentioned her pain during sex. George, too, kept his difficulties to himself. It just didn't seem like the right thing to say in a clinical setting. Then, one day, almost by accident, Carol finally spoke up during a checkup. To her surprise, her doctor wasn't taken aback at all. In fact, she explained that this kind of concern was extremely common among older adults. Even better, there were real treatments available. Carol started using a gentle, non-hormonal solution that helped alleviate dryness. George got referred for vascular testing, which found a small but significant blockage that was affecting his circulation and contributing to his issue. Once treated, their intimacy improved, along with their emotional connection. The truth is, many older patients wrongly assume sexual health is no longer appropriate to bring up in a doctor's office. But your well-being includes your intimate life, because issues like decreased libido, dryness, or erectile difficulty can be early warning signs of other health conditions like heart disease, diabetes, or hormonal imbalances. These symptoms aren't just about sex, they're about your body sending a signal. Worried about starting the conversation? You don't have to dive into details. You can simply say, "Can I ask a personal question about intimacy?" Or, "I've noticed a change and wonder if it's something worth discussing." That's often all it takes to open a door to understanding and support. And don't overlook medication side effects. Many common prescriptions, like those for high blood pressure or depression, can affect sexual function. If your doctor doesn't know what you're experiencing, they may never think to make a simple adjustment that could change everything. After his appointment, George told me the most powerful part wasn't the treatment, it was the fact that someone listened. He felt acknowledged, not overlooked. Not too old. Just human. No matter your age, you deserve a doctor who sees and supports you in every aspect, body, mind, and intimacy included. It all starts with an honest, brave conversation. Don't let discomfort keep you silent. Sharing your story could be the first step toward healing, reconnection, and a fuller, richer life. Habit number 4, neglecting hydration and nutrition. It may seem too basic to make a difference, but your daily food and fluid intake significantly influences your energy levels, blood circulation, and hormonal balance, 3 key factors that shape your intimate life. Many older adults dismiss the importance of hydration and diet, attributing changes in desire or function solely to age, medications, or mood. However, when your body lacks proper nourishment, every aspect of vitality declines, including passion and physical responsiveness. Consider Thomas, a 71-year-old who led a fairly active life, walking his dog daily, cooking at home, and playing golf twice a week. Yet he often felt fatigued, sluggish, and uninterested in anything beyond routine activities. He assumed it was just aging taking its toll, but after consulting a nutritionist, at his daughter's insistence, he discovered he'd been chronically dehydrated for years. His diet was also deficient in essential nutrients like healthy fats, magnesium, and zinc, key elements for testosterone production, nerve function, and circulation. Dehydration, even mild, reduces blood volume, forcing the heart to work harder. Skin loses elasticity, muscles stiffen, and joints ache, making movement uncomfortable. Now, imagine these effects in an intimate context: diminished sensitivity, slower arousal, reduced stamina, and higher chances of cramps or strain. It's far from romantic, yet for many seniors, it's preventable. Processed foods and excess sugar also play a role. Thomas didn't realize his frozen meals and store-bought sauces were packed with sodium and additives, spiking his blood pressure and causing bloating. He was eating normal food, but it lacked real nutrition, leaving him full yet undernourished. After minor tweaks, adding greens, swapping processed meats for grilled fish, and sipping water consistently, his energy rebounded. Gradually, he regained a sense of vibrancy he thought was gone forever. Blood sugar swings further complicate things. A sugary breakfast, like toast with jam or flavored yogurt, causes a glucose surge, followed by an energy crash, leaving you foggy and drained. This cycle disrupts hormones, stamina, and body awareness. For women, hydration and diet are even more critical, as estrogen affects tissue health and lubrication. Foods like avocado, olive oil, and hydrating fruits, watermelon, cucumber, support hormonal balance, while herbs like ginger boost circulation. This isn't about perfection, just small, sustainable choices. A morning glass of water, nuts instead of sweets, or colorful veggies over processed snacks. These shifts don't just aid digestion or heart health, they restore energy, clarity, and confidence. For Thomas, 2 months of better habits transformed not just his physical intimacy but his overall joy, rekindling a sense of connection and spontaneity. It's not about extreme diets, it's about fueling your body to thrive. To connect, engage, and feel fully alive. If you found this helpful, comment for below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more insights. Your support keeps us creating valuable content. Let's keep going. Number 5, underestimating emotional intimacy. In youth, relationships often thrive on raw chemistry, hormones, excitement, and the thrill of newness. But as decades pass, a quieter force becomes the true foundation of closeness, emotional connection. Ironically, this is the very element many couples neglect when intimacy fades, mistaking distance for inevitability rather than a gap they can bridge. Take Johan and Linda, married for 38 years. Outwardly, their life seemed harmonious: shared routines, family dinners, mutual respect. Yet behind closed doors, a hollow space had formed. Their physical relationship hadn't ended in conflict, it had simply dissolved into silence. Linda blamed low desire, Johan chalked it up to age. Neither recognized the real culprit: years of drifting emotionally, buried under the weight of parenting, work, and life's demands. They'd stopped seeing each other, not as roles, spouse, parent, retiree, but as the people they'd fallen in love with decades earlier. The paradox? Emotional closeness fuels physical intimacy, especially later in life. When you feel psychologically safe with someone, truly known and valued, your body follows. Guardedness melts into presence, self-consciousness gives way to playfulness. For Johan and Linda, reconnection began not in the bedroom but on evening walks. 15 minutes of undistracted conversation, asking questions they'd assumed they already knew the answers to. What surprises you about this stage of life? When do you feel most alive now? Slowly, curiosity reignited. Touches became more frequent, laughter more spontaneous. The physical followed the emotional, not the other way around. This shift matters even more for those navigating new relationships later in life, widows, divorcees, or those re-entering dating after decades. The fear of vulnerability can feel paralyzing. But avoiding emotional risk only widens the divide between alone together and true partnership. Consider, when did you last ask a partner about their unspoken fears or current joys? These conversations aren't small talk, they're lifelines to mutual understanding. Johan's realization was profound. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I had to perform. I just felt wanted. That's the power of emotional intimacy. It transforms physical connection from an obligation into an expression of trust, less about performance, more about presence. Later life intimacy isn't a weaker version of youthful passion, it's something richer, the comfort of skin that knows your scars, the humor of shared history, the quiet thrill of still being discovered. If this resonates, comment 5 below. For more insights on thriving relationships at any age, subscribe and hit the bell. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful content. Let's continue. Number 6. Overlooking the importance of sleep and recovery. When considering ways to enhance intimacy in later years, many people focus on medication, communication, or exercise. However, one critical factor often overlooked is sleep. I'm not referring to merely resting when you're tired, but rather to the deep, consistent, restorative sleep that allows your body to heal, balance hormones, and remain active and alert throughout the day. You might not realize how much your sleep routine impacts your intimacy, but the connection is far more significant than you think. When you don't sleep well, whether it's waking up frequently, staying up too late, or waking up too early, your body doesn't just feel tired. It begins to experience hormonal imbalances. Testosterone levels drop, while cortisol, the stress hormone, rises. Your nervous system becomes overly reactive, and emotional regulation becomes more difficult. All of this makes intimacy harder, both physically and emotionally. Take Mary, for example. At 75, after over 40 years of marriage, he and his wife still shared a bed, but his snoring had worsened. He would wake up several times a night, sometimes without realizing it, and felt fatigued during the day. He found it hard to concentrate and started losing interest in intimacy, not because he didn't care, but because his body was stuck in survival mode. When his doctor suggested a sleep study, Lester was initially resistant, thinking it was unnecessary. But after some persuasion, he agreed. The results showed moderate sleep apnea, where his breathing stopped numerous times each hour, depriving his body and brain of oxygen. Once Mary started using a CPAP machine, things began to improve, not overnight, but gradually. Within weeks, his energy returned, he woke up feeling more alert, and his memory improved. He began exercising more, laughing more, and reconnecting with his wife. His intimacy also improved, not due to a pill or procedure, but because he gave his body the rest it desperately needed to function properly. Sleep has far-reaching effects. It helps regulate blood pressure, supports heart health, stabilizes mood, and restores hormone levels. For women, particularly after menopause, poor sleep can intensify hot flashes, irritability, and dryness. For men, interrupted sleep lowers testosterone, reduces libido, and diminishes stamina. If you're waking up feeling tired or if your partner mentions that you snore loudly or appear restless at night, it's worth paying attention. These are not just minor inconveniences, they're signals your body is sending. Some sleep problems stem from habits, like falling asleep in front of the TV, drinking too much caffeine late in the day, or using alcohol to unwind at night. Though these habits might seem harmless, they degrade your sleep quality over time. As a result, your energy declines, your hormones fluctuate, and your ability to stay connected with your partner fades. Other issues may arise from deeper conditions, such as chronic pain, anxiety, or medications that disrupt your sleep cycles. If this resonates with you, don't settle for poor sleep. Speak to your doctor. Simple adjustments might make a big difference, whether it's changing your routine, trying a temporary sleep aid, or treating conditions like restless leg syndrome or sleep apnea. You deserve restful sleep, not only to stay alert but also to be fully present in every aspect of your life, including your relationships. Sleep sharpens the mind, lifts your mood, and helps you stay connected, not just with others but with yourself. After several months of good sleep, Mary shared that he didn't just feel younger, he felt more alive. He felt capable again. He no longer dreaded intimacy or worried whether his body would cooperate. He trusted himself, and that made all the difference. If you found these insights helpful, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend doing so and turning on notifications so you don't miss any of our content. Your support enables us to continue creating valuable, inspiring content for you. Let's move forward. Number 7, expecting intimacy to remain the same as it was decades ago. One of the subtle barriers to connection in later years is the belief that intimacy should mirror the way it was 30 or 40 years ago. People may expect it to have the same rhythm, urgency, or physical expression, and when it doesn't, they can feel as though they've lost something significant, or that the best part of their life is behind them. But that simply isn't the case. In fact, the intimacy that can develop after the age of 65, when built on trust, gentleness, and presence, is often deeper than the fast-paced or performance-driven intimacy of youth. What changes is not your worth or capacity, but rather the form that intimacy takes. If you resist this change, you might miss out on something even more meaningful. I once spoke with a 68-year-old woman named Patricia, who had recently started dating again after being widowed for several years. She shared how uncomfortable she felt during her initial experiences. Her body had changed, she wasn't as flexible, and her skin didn't react the way it once had. She kept comparing herself to her younger self, feeling let down. However, a beautiful shift occurred. One evening, she sat with her partner and simply said, "I'm not who I was, but I'm still me. I just need you to slow down." In that moment, everything softened. They laughed, held each other longer, and took their time exploring one another. What they found wasn't a return to the past, but a new, equally real version of closeness. Many people over the age of 65 believe that if their intimacy doesn't include penetration or doesn't follow a particular script, it's not valid. But the truth is, touch, eye contact, conversation in bed, mutual exploration, all of these are legitimate forms of intimacy. They carry emotion, spark hormones, and bring joy. When you allow your definition of intimacy to expand, so does your experience of love. It's okay to grieve what's changed, to miss the ease and simplicity of how things once were, but don't mistake change for loss. What you have now is an opportunity to connect in ways that are mindful, unhurried, and emotionally rich. This phase of life doesn't demand performance, it invites presence. This shift in perspective is especially important for men, who are often taught that their value is tied to function. When things don't work exactly as they once did, shame can quickly follow. But intimacy is not about perfection, it's about being present and available, offering whatever your body can give on any given day. This openness makes your partner feel safe, desired, and close to you. For couples who have been together for many years, reigniting intimacy might involve letting go of outdated expectations and forming new ones. Try holding each other without any agenda. Talk about what feels good now, rather than what used to. Let your imagination lead, not your memories. If you're starting a new relationship later in life, be honest about where you are. There's a unique beauty in saying, "This is where my body is now, but I still desire connection." That honesty is magnetic. It builds trust and allows both people to show up authentically. The happiest moments I hear about from older adults don't come from trying to recreate their youth, they come from discovering that love still exists in their skin, their voice, and their hands. Closeness is still possible, and it might even be more fulfilling now, because it's no longer about performance, it's about presence. When you stop chasing the intimacy of the past, you free yourself to experience what intimacy can be today. Sometimes, that version turns out to be more satisfying than anything that came before. As we close, take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed today. What resonated with you the most? Was it the reminder to stop comparing yourself to your past self, or the idea that nourishment, rest, and emotional presence matter just as much, if not more, than mechanics? If you're in your senior years and still feel desire, curiosity, or a longing for connection, know that you're not alone, and you're certainly not broken. What you're experiencing is natural, and embracing this part of yourself can open doors to connection, healing, and joy that many believe are no longer possible. Intimacy after 65 doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be real, honest, patient, and sometimes even brave. Whether you're in a long-term relationship or starting a new one, remember this: the small choices you make each day, getting enough rest, drinking water, having difficult conversations, and letting go of old expectations, are what keep intimacy alive. They help you stay connected to yourself. If any of these 7 points resonated with you, I hope you'll carry them forward, not as pressure, but as permission, to age with grace, to love openly, and to believe that closeness still belongs to you. Thank you for watching. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to incorporate it into your life. Your thoughts mean a lot to us, so please don't hesitate to share. Your support motivates and inspires us to keep creating valuable content. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue to inform and inspire you. Thanks for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.